Hi, this is Rainbow Harmony, here to help you find balance and peace to live a more colorful life. And this is a very special pick a card reading with my Dig Deeper Oracle deck. So this is actually a deck that was gifted to me and handmade by one of my subscribers here on the channel, and it was really special because I've been talking to this person, her name is Nevis, for a while now, and she first reached out in order to practice her tarot readings. She offered to do a reading for me on some of my pets that I've been like just estranged from or departed from, or some of them that have passed over to the other side. And her messages were just so on point. We struck up a friendship, and then I traveled here to Croatia in January, right before the lockdown, and I ended up kind of being stuck here for the last 6 months while I wait for it to be safer to travel again and move on with my journey. So it's been nice. I actually started like a little life here, and I have friends and like a home, and it's just, I had no idea I would actually be living here. And one of the highlights of this time has been recently I got to meet up with Nevis because the lockdown here is over and you can travel within the country, and she was able to come visit me and she gifted me this beautiful deck. And I thought it was so special because she actually like watched my channel and sat down and like intuitively put like what she felt all the biggest messages on my channel were into one deck. And so it's called the Dig Deeper Oracle, or the Dig Deep Oracle. And the first time I went through these cards and just looked at them, it even has a cute little guidebook that goes with it. I just cried because I was so overwhelmed by this beautiful gift and how the messages here really are kind of some of the main messages that I repeat a lot on this channel. It was just so cool that somebody took the time to make this, and it's a beautiful, beautiful gift, and I really want to share it with you guys. So we're going to be doing a reading today with this deck, but I will just kind of scroll through or flip through some of these cards real quick. I mean, definitely these are some deep, deep diving messages. So in a second here, you're going to see a couple of cards laid out, and you can choose the one that you feel drawn to the most. And I'm just going to channel and get you guys a message today. If you're ready to dig deep, let's do it, okay? So I've got 4 options for you guys here today. Are you ready to dig deep? All you have to do in order to receive this reading is simply just choose a card or a crystal that you feel drawn to the most. Keep in mind this is a general reading, so it may not resonate with everyone. Always trust your own intuition and your own inner guidance above all else when doing any type of pick a card tarot reading or getting any type of advice online, really. So you can choose number 1, the tiger's eye. Number 2, the raw quartz. Number 3, the yellow citrine. Or number 4, the blue jasper. Once you have chosen, you can head down below to the description or to the comments where the timestamps will be posted, so you can click on that and instantly be fast forwarded to your part in the reading. And I will see you soon. So for those of you guys who choose number 1, let's see what your card is. So you are getting the card that says, are you on autopilot? So this card is calling you out, asking you to check in with yourself. This card is all about grounding your energy. And I'm afraid that I'm a culprit of this quite often. A lot of times in life, we're just rushing around on autopilot, the same routine, the same schedule. And then one day what ends up happening is it catches up with us. We break down, we get a pain in our body, or we get a headache, or maybe we emotionally have like an outburst or something. And it's because when we're on autopilot, we're not checking in with ourselves. We're not checking in with our emotions. We're not checking in with our feelings. We're not checking in with our spiritual side or even with our body. And so this happens sometimes. We've got so many different things going on in our life. Some of you guys have got kids or school or work, or you know, there's the basic part of life, which is survival, and we're all, you know, trying to keep a roof over our head, food on our table, and take care of the people around us and ourselves and whatnot. But there's another part of life, and that's the life that we create. It's the choices we make every day. It's our purpose, it's our mission, it's the fun, it's the bliss of life. Like, we forget that in order to have a happy life, and in order to feel calm, and in order to feel like we are in alignment, we actually have to make conscious choices to walk that path. Like, walking that path takes a conscious choice, and it often boils down to the little things that we do every day. So when we go onto autopilot, the danger with this is, where is this autopilot coming from? Who programmed this autopilot into us? Sometimes it's society or the education system that programs us to live our life a certain way, to wake up at a certain time every day, that it's you do this and you do that and you do this and you do that. Something I thought was really crazy, just going to school and having like a job, like looking back on that path of mine in the past, I'm realizing, wow, you only get 10 minutes to use the bathroom. You only get a half hour for lunch. You only, you have to be there at this time. You can leave at this time. You're not allowed to be free or to think or do this or that. I mean, so many years of our lives, you guys, we were brainwashed. So you've got to realize that. There's good things about school too. There's good things about learning how to wake up early and move forward with your day and, socializing with your peers. It's not all bad, but you have to remember that you get to choose how you want to live your days. You get to choose what your lifestyle is like, and you can build the lifestyle and the dream that you want. And it's going to be different for everybody. So you've got to ask yourself, am I just following along with this autopilot lifestyle or this autopilot day? This autopilot of, this is how I'm supposed to live, this is how my day is supposed to be. Don't forget that you can steal back little moments of your day. That's what it takes. Like, for me, getting out of the matrix and living a lifestyle of travel and of freedom and of having my own businesses it all started with stealing back little moments from my day. So in the morning before I went to work or school, what I did was I would get up 2-3 hours early. This is what I did at least. I started getting up around 5 a.m. and I would go to the gym and take a spinning class, or I would go on a jog, or I would take a walk. I would listen to music that I loved. I would start the day off really happy. And I would sometimes even drive to this nearby location to go on like a hike in the morning. And so I would start my days off with fun and with happiness and with sunshine. I would come home and I would make my bed, and I would make some tea and have a nice breakfast. And then I would do some vision boarding and some writing, and I would listen to podcasts that were uplifting to me, and I would work on my goals or set like a little plan for myself for the day on how I could actually keep my mind and my energy focused on what I wanted to accomplish. And then I would go to work or school or whatever. I would get home and everything would be nice and clean. I would feel like I just had a little bit of the day for myself. And what I used to do is I would just roll out of bed like 30 minutes before my job, and I would be exhausted because of anxiety, not being able to sleep the night before. And I would just throw my hair up and just, try to, eat a power bar, and I would show up at work. And it just was way too much for me just to wake up and bam, I'm at work, or bam, I'm at school. And then you come home all stressed out. You got to realize that the mornings are really important. How you wake up and the energy with which you start your day is really, really important. And the same goes for bedtime as well. What's really fascinating is we usually wake up in the same energetic state as we do when we go to bed. So whatever your energetic state is when you fall asleep, you're gonna wake up like that. So there's been nights where I've had anxiety or I've just been worried, because we tend to worry a lot when we lay down at night and we're about to fall asleep. The things we're worried about or nervous about are naturally gonna come up. And sometimes that can prevent us from sleeping or distract us, or it can give us a bad start the next morning because we go to bed in that energy and then we wake up with it and then we just carry it forward. And we can get stuck in these spirals for days or weeks or months or years. And so start looking at, this autopilot thing is helping you to get grounded. Really healthy practices for mornings are Making sure, of course, you're getting a healthy breakfast. Making sure you have time to drink water. Making sure you have time. Even if you're tired, wake yourself up a little bit earlier so you're not in a rush. Make sure you have sacred space around you. You can use fragrances, essential oils, or incense to put good smells around you to help ground you in the morning. Do a little bit of stretching. Get your body moving, deep breathing. You don't have to be perfect, but do the things that you like. Get yourself laughing, hang out with your pets. Don't go and talk to that stressful person first thing in the morning. If you're living with someone who wakes up stressful, get out of the house and go on a walk, or like go to the gym, or avoid them. Let them have the kind of morning they need to have, or whatever their deal is. Don't get sucked into the drama first thing in the morning. This is a message about protecting the sacred energy around how you go into each day. And then at nighttime, maybe you can write in your journal, or you can do prayers, or you can read an uplifting book, or, read some poems, or you can finish, work on a vision board online, or you can listen to relaxing music. I know we want to be on YouTube and social media and scroll, but that will keep us up till 3 a.m. I've been there, you guys. I know what that's like. So always have like a book or something checked out from the library, or maybe turn off the phone, or set restrictions on certain apps after a certain time, and really start just using the last couple minutes before you go to sleep on praying or releasing worries or affirming yourself or gratitude, and then you'll wake up in that energy. So autopilot is all about just checking in with yourself, creating ways to check in with yourself. So journaling is going to be really good for this too. I wonder if you have any ideas. Maybe you can pause the video, or after this video, write something down for yourself on maybe some ideas on how you want to start your morning routine or your bedtime routine. So I challenge you to really look at your routines, morning and evening, and to use those times to check in with yourself so that you can make sure you're not just on autopilot, carrying forward unintentional crusty vibes with you the rest of the day. And I want to also say once again, it's not about perfection. If you need to have a bad day, allow yourself to have a bad day. If you're freaking out about something, allow yourself to break down. Sometimes we just got to work through certain energies or express them in order for us to pass through them. So my question to you, and the question from the Dig Deep Oracle, is, are you on autopilot? And I would even ask, how do you want to be? Do you want to be on autopilot, or do you want to be grounded and in the moment and embracing the beautiful energies of this life? So I hope that this message resonates with you. Thank you so much for coming to my channel, and I will see you next time. Peace out. So for those of you guys who choose number 2, let's go ahead and get your message from the Dig Deep Oracle. And you're getting allow friendship. So the cool thing about when I got this deck is that she actually made me a couple of cards that were blank that I could add stuff to. And after my first experience of just going through this whole deck and flipping through it, like, I was so overwhelmed and by the beauty of it and the kindness that I just took the pen out and I wrote this one myself. And so this is one that's actually really personal to me, allow friendship. So I made this card because I think in my life I've had, how do I even say it? I've had so many different types of friendships, and I've had some that have just like fallen apart and have been awful, or I've had people that were toxic to me. I even played a role in being toxic in other people's lives in my past. I mean, it just took me a while to learn like how to be a good friend and who I can trust, and to learn about people that have narcissism or personality disorders and how to like look out for the red flags. I had to do a lot of work on not being codependent or a people pleaser. I think sometimes as empaths, we just want to be nice to everybody. We want to be kind to everyone. And as I moved through life, I started realizing I get to choose who my friends are. I get to choose who deserves a seat at my table, and I can be picky and I can be choosy. It doesn't mean I'm looking for perfection in people, but it does mean that I can give myself the time to slowly get to know people. I can give myself the time to decide, once again, who I allow in my life. And so I went through a long phase of doing that. However, I think that I took it too far and started to be afraid of making friends with people. And I think that's pretty normal after you've been abused or you've been hurt in life, or you've been burned. And so this card, if you were drawn to it and if it's resonating with you, if the story I just told resonates with you, maybe you've been going through something similar. Maybe you've been burned in the past. Maybe you had what I call like a best frenemy, somebody who like becomes your best friend but ends up stabbing you in the back, or someone that you were codependent with, or maybe you just never felt like you found your people, or maybe you're alone. You know, some of us kind of like are loners for a little bit in life or through periods in our life because of whatever reason. And maybe you just don't really feel like you fit in with the people around you, or you have unique interests. And maybe I've talked to some people who are living just in a really small town. There's not many people and they want to go where the artists are and go find more artistic people. Like sometimes you just are having trouble making friends, or maybe you're really busy with work or something. And sometimes we block ourselves to having friendships because we've been hurt so many times. And as we go through life after being burned so much, after losing people so many times, it can be hard to put yourself back out there to make another friend because you're like, oh, it's happened over and over and over. So there's this message to allow friendship. This is telling you, look, you have learned from all these friendships that have fallen apart. And that's something that you don't learn right away, that there will be people who come and there will be people who go. Sometimes you have soul contracts with people to be in your life for only a certain amount of time. And so this also goes to people who've passed away. Maybe some of you have had like a good friend that's passed away and you just don't want to deal with that pain again. I totally get it. I'm sorry for any of you guys who are in that situation. So basically this is telling you allow friendship, because oftentimes when we pray or we wish or we dream or we set a goal or we set an intention, the answer can come through another person. Friendship is so beautiful. To feel that amazing soul connection and like someone really gets you is so beautiful. To be able to give to someone and receive in exchange, it's such a beautiful energy. And I don't think we came here in these physical bodies to just be alone. I think it's beautiful how when we hug, our bodies all fit together perfectly. When we hold hands, our fingers interlace, and it's just gorgeous. I love how we can experience ourselves in another person and also experience the uniqueness of another person in a relationship. And so you can protect yourself in friendships. You can protect yourself by having healthy boundaries. You get to decide what you discuss in your friendships and when you want to change the subject. You get to decide when you answer that email or when you answer that text message and when you need to just have a little bit of space. You get to decide when you want to see your friends and, you know, what type of activities that you would like to do with them. And the people that are your true friends will understand if you ever have to say no. They'll understand if there's certain topics you aren't comfortable talking about. They'll learn how to keep things appropriate. They'll learn you and they'll learn your boundaries. Everyone has unique boundaries, and sometimes in relationships you rub up against them, but someone who truly respects you and is a true friend will understand that. And somebody who's a true friend will just bring you love and light. Once again, it's not like they're perfect or anything, but you know, someone who's a true friend will comfort you when you're down. You know, they won't be your emotional crutch, but they'll be there for you. And I honestly think that allowing yourself to have friendship is about allowing yourself to be a friend to yourself first. You know, as within, so without, as above, so below. Whatever's going on inside of you, you're going to mirror out in the outward world. So if you're a good friend to yourself first, that's how you will manifest friendships. So being a good friend to yourself might look like self-care, setting healthy boundaries, deciding who and when and how you're going to give your sacred yes to someone, being brave enough to say no when you need to say no, and you know, not worrying so much about what the people, your friends think. You know, really living life for you and keeping your own opinion as number one about yourself. And so this is just a card to tell you to allow friendship. Maybe this has come to you because there's a new friend in your life, or because you're feeling lonely and there's a little push for you to get out there to make a new friend, or to reach out to that new person, or to join that art club or whatever it is, so that you can get around more people. And I think that it's worth it. Definitely you're gonna get mowed over sometimes in life. People can be scary, people can be vicious, people can be devastating, terrifying for sure. I think that's the hardest thing about growing up, is realizing, yeah, there's some people out there who are just cray, who don't have the best intentions. You don't have to be friends with people like that. You're not obligated, you know. You can help people and you can give good energy without being entangled and letting people drain your energy. And so I think you're just learning like how to be a good friend to yourself by having boundaries with the people you need to have boundaries with, and by allowing the right people in. And have you ever heard that quote that it takes you got to kiss a lot of frogs to find your prince, or to find your princess, or whatever? It's the same thing with friendships. You have people who come and go, but the right people will stay, and the right people will be drawn to you. Sometimes all you need to do is just pray, or put out the intention that you're going to meet a good friend, and it will be manifested. One of my favorite quotes, which I truly believe in, is, "You are never alone. The universe always sends someone." And that's something I've learned a lot traveling. There's been times where I've been alone in a country and I won't speak a language, and I'll pray and I'll wish and manifest that like I can meet a friendship or meet somebody and have a beautiful connection. And I've met people all over the world. I've had to put myself out there and show up to an event, or approach someone I think seems interesting or has a cool vibe, but I'm never disappointed in just following my heart and going for that. I've learned how to protect myself and my energy when getting to know new people, especially as a traveler, because you never can know who you can trust. But I've been really lucky that seeing that most people really are kind, most people really are nice, most people really do have good intentions and want a friend just as much as you do. So you try putting that love and light out there and seeing what comes back to you, and I think you'll be surprised that you can manifest true friendships no matter where you are or what your situation is. Don't wait until tomorrow. Don't wait until you move to the next place. Open yourself up for new friendships. Be open to talking with different types of people with different backgrounds, or who come from different kind of place than you do in life, or that people who might be different than you usually talk to, people who like all sorts of different things. Be open to that. I actually see like a really good message for you about friendships coming into your life, unexpected friendships, unexpected blessings. So I hope that this reading resonates with you. Thank you so much for coming to my channel, and I will see you next time. Peace out. So for those of you guys who choose number 3, let's see what your card says. And you are getting change your patterns. So yes, this is a dig deep oracle, bam, serving you right away with some truth. So when you see this card, this is coming up for you, it is a message about how there's a part of you that really longs for change. If you're watching this reading around the time I've released it, it is a timeless reading, but we can't ignore the fact that we just went through this huge lockdown period and a lot of people were inside, and like your normal patterns of how you live your life and like the things that you do and the things that you choose have kind of come to a stop. And so as you now go back out into the world, as a lockdown starts to lift everywhere slowly but surely, I think it's a beautiful opportunity to look at what patterns that you had in your life that were not serving you and what you can do to change it. It's funny, kind of bouncing off of the last card that I pulled. Maybe you can watch that one too if this is something that interests you. Number 2. I'll just be real vulnerable here and let you know that I had a pattern in my life of making these really, really close friendships and then them blowing up around like 8 or 10 years. And this happened with a couple different people. And I started to realize, okay, this is like a pattern. Like it's the same thing over and over. So what am I missing here? And I realized that there were parts of me that I needed to change. I realized that there were codependent patterns and habits that I had. I realized that there were ways that I was not having healthy boundaries in friendships. And I also realized I was taking too much crap from people in friendships. And so it's something that I was like, okay, this is a pattern, I've got to change it. So sometimes this is hard because patterns can sometimes be addictions, or can sometimes be like really cringy stuff we do that we don't want to acknowledge. Like it could be your eating patterns, like how you eat and what you're putting in your body. It could be your sleep patterns. Lately, I've been realizing, okay, I really need to like put my phone down before I go to bed so I don't stay up super late and then end up waking up late the next day. Like I feel so much better when I wake up earlier and have a nice morning, and so I need to like fight for that. I need to work for that, and I need to get out of this pattern of staying up later like on my phone. So just like I'm being vulnerable, telling you guys some of my patterns. I'm wondering what some of your patterns are. If you want to leave them in the comments below. No hate, no shame here. We'll give you a like. We'll read what you're going through if you want to vent. But this is a message to you. It's time to change your patterns. So these could be relationship patterns. This could be patterns with how maybe you pick something up and you start something and then you kind of give up on it, and you're doing that over and over and over again. I've seen that pattern with a lot of my clients. And sometimes it's just, in order to change a pattern, you have to be conscious. You have to realize, first of all, what is the pattern and what can I do? Because sometimes these patterns do involve other people. We can't change other people and the way that they're like what they're doing, but we can remove ourselves from the situation, or we can change how we're interacting with those people. And sometimes we have to realize that a lot of this is just in our head. Sometimes the negative patterns we get stuck in are because we're trying to run away from some type of change that needs to happen. And our mind is maybe telling us that we're not capable, or this is the only way, or we're not slowing down enough to tap into our emotions. So oftentimes unhealthy patterns or even addictions can come from us wanting to run away from the real emotions, or like a healing process. It's like trying to numb us out or cover things up. The healing process is intense, you guys. The grieving process is intense. Anytime there's any type of loss, or big change or big trauma or catastrophe in our life, or like a breakup or something, or someone's passed, or an accident or health problem or whatever, we go through like a grieving process. And so the first stage of the grieving process is shock. We're in shock, we're in denial. The second part of the grieving process is bargaining, where we're like, let's say it's a breakup, someone breaks up with you and you're in shock, you're in denial at first, and then you move on to bargaining. And bargaining is like, well, maybe I'll text them to see if they want to meet up for closure, or maybe we're just on a break and we'll like, maybe they'll change their mind, or maybe we can just like be friends. Like that's bargaining, where you're trying to like figure out, your mind and your body is trying to fight the change. The next stage of the grieving process is anger. You're just angry, you're frustrated, you're mad, you could be lashing out, whatever. It's okay to be angry. Sometimes it gets expressed in unhealthy ways, but anger is a valid emotion. And then past the anger is sadness, and is depression, and is like crying and in bed with Ben and Jerry's watching reruns of Gilmore Girls or whatever. Like it can manifest itself and look different ways in different people, but sadness, depression. And then the final stage of the grieving process is acceptance, when you're not carrying the weight of what happened, or the trauma or the pain on your shoulders every day. You're not carrying it around with you anymore. It's not like defining you in your reality. It's not holding you back. And it doesn't mean that you don't miss the person who has passed away, or that you're not still kind of a little sad about the breakup or the trauma, or maybe you're not still dealing with the health problem or whatever it is. It just means that it's not defining your reality. And so it takes time to go through the grieving process. It's not linear. You can jump back and forth between different phases in the grieving process. But these patterns sometimes we get stuck in are because we've started the grieving process and we've run from it. So what happens with a lot of people, and this has happened to me before in my life, where we've gone through the shock and the denial phase of the grieving process, and sometimes we just get stuck there. And these patterns that get started are because, or the unhealthy patterns or the addictions, they get started because we're trying to like kind of stuff down our emotions, or we're trying to survive. And this makes sense. You don't have to beat up on yourself if this has happened. Sometimes like you have to go to work, or you have to go to school, or you have to like, because of your choices, you just have to make it through life. So our brain decides to like file away trauma and file away this pain so that we don't process it. And so we do weird stuff like addictions or weird patterns and things so that we don't actually sit with ourselves and let this process happen. So the best thing you can do if you're realizing you're stuck in unhealthy patterns, or you need to change your patterns or any addictions or anything, the best thing you can do is allow yourself to go through the grieving process. Maybe to ask yourself and write down what you're angry about. Because if you can get to the anger stage, then you'll finally get past that and move to sadness. Maybe recognizing if you're in denial or if you're bargaining over anything, because sometimes that's how patterns start, because we're bargaining or because we're in denial. And so writing down a list of what you're mad about, writing down a list of what you really want to change, writing down a list of like how this pattern or whatever's going on is really messing with you, and just letting yourself get angry, like, write it out feverishly on a piece of paper, and just get it out. And then you can see like, wow, this is how I'm really feeling. And once the anger is processed and you've gotten through that, then you will get sad and tears will come, or you might withdraw, you might get depressed a little bit. So the best thing you can remember about depression or sadness is that depressed just means deep rest. And so it's allowing yourself to be sad, allowing yourself to realize you were hurt, and like letting that flow through you, slowing down a little bit and creating space for yourself to go through that. And then it'll pass. It takes time, but it'll pass. So many of us just don't like those uncomfortable emotions. We'll allow ourselves to have anger, or we'll allow ourselves certain emotions, but we won't allow the sadness, or, sometimes it's because of how we've been raised or what we were taught or what we got to do to just function in society. Sometimes we're just afraid it's going to hold us back or take us away from our goals. But I always tell people, allowing yourself to feel emotions or go through a sad time or process something that happened to you that you never really got to process, it can be a hard, painful time. And sometimes you need to reach out for professional help if it gets bad. But it's good for you because it actually clears your root chakra. It clears energy so that you can manifest the things you want to manifest in your life. We can actually have emotional and energetic blockages if we haven't processed certain things in our life. So if you're really having a trouble with addiction or changing patterns, definitely get help from a licensed therapist or counselor, not just a card reader, because card readers, we're great people, and we're good at helping and coaching, but sometimes it takes a team of people to help somebody through a very difficult time. So if those of you are going through the real difficult time, licensed professional counselor, therapist, see an actual medical doctor if you need to. Tell your loved ones, get the assistance and support you need. I know there's some people here who are watching this who might be stuck in a difficult addiction or a difficult pattern, and there's help out there for it. It's amazing. And I will release the stigma on mental health by telling you guys that I have gotten help for mental health in the past. I have seen doctors. I've seen licensed therapists and counselors. In fact, I still see a therapist. So there's nothing wrong with actually seeking help to change some patterns. For those of you guys that these are just little things, or like, I think I need to change my eating patterns or my thought patterns, or maybe just the lifestyle pattern or something, you can do it. I think that all this means is you're just getting ready to flow into something different. You don't have to blame yourself or judge yourself for any pattern you realize you had. Maybe you just didn't know. And it's just your body and your mind trying to help you. We self-medicate a lot. Our body tries to just and our mind tries to just help us figure out how we can survive. That's all it is these patterns we get stuck in. It's just because of survival. And as soon as you realize you're in a pattern, all you have to do is just bring awareness to it. And sometimes just the fact of that helps you to be more conscious to make different choices. So don't freak out if you're realizing you've got patterns. We all do. And we just do our best every day, So I hope that this resonates with you. We definitely did a little bit of deep digging here. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Peace out. So for those of you guys who choose number 4, let's see what your message is from my Dig Deep Oracle. So you are getting the card, Find Your Purpose. Woo, this is a huge, huge card. How do you find your purpose? I mean, this is very, very complex. I personally am under the personal opinion, that life is all about finding your purpose, and that you get to decide what your purpose is. You get to create your purpose. I also believe people are born with natural talents and gifts, and that's like a little clue. And also your natural desires that you have are part of the compass that leads you in the direction of your life mission and soul purpose. So if you can figure out what your desires are and you can tap into your talents and gifts, that's some pretty good information right there to find your purpose. So that's something I would suggest you do, just to simplify it. Figure out what your desires are. Sometimes you only know that you have one desire. Like, I want to purchase a car. I've told this guy's story many times. He gave me permission. I don't use his name, but he's given me permission to tell his story. And it was one of my clients, and he actually, all he knew, we were doing life coaching, and all he knew is that he wanted this car. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to judge you. You know, you want this car, let's figure out how you can get it. And he, so he got like a bunch of jobs, you know, to like get this car. He just wanted freedom. He wanted venture. He pictured the things he was going to do in this car. He thought the car would motivate him to work harder, to save money. And he just really felt drawn to it. That was like what his desire was. And so he worked and he worked and he worked. And like, I think it was like around 18 months. And he saved up to get this car he wanted. And he got the car. And it was crazy because after a couple months of having this car, he parked it somewhere, and this guy came up to him and was like, hey man, I really like your car. And they struck up a conversation. Well, it turns out that the guy he was talking to was like kind of spiritual and woke too, because he was talking about how he used the law of attraction and manifestation and a lot of hard work to get the car. And the guy was like, I'm so into that, I'm actually like a Reiki master. And he offered to do a free session for my client. And so, long story short, these guys kind of struck up a friendship, and my client ended up getting trained to do Reiki by this guy, and now he does it as his job. And so this car is literally what drew this person that was going to help him and mentor him into his life. And so it's a crazy story, but I'm getting chills just thinking about it. But sometimes, like, you don't really know the whole picture. You just have a piece of the puzzle, and you know something you want, whether it's, I just feel like I want to become a nurse, or I just feel like I want to go to this school, or I just feel like I want to move to this place, and you manifest it and you work on it. And when you get there, the next piece of the puzzle unfolds. It's good to have a big picture. Like, some of you guys out there have a big picture. You kind of have a little plan, or you know what your life mission and soul purpose is, or you've had certain things unfolded to you, or you've created certain pathways in your life for it. And so I feel like it's kind of co-creation and a partnership with the universe, where there's certain things that can be revealed to you along the path, and through the choices you make, you get to learn yourself more and more about what you do like and what you don't like. So part of finding your purpose is definitely, like I mentioned with that story of my client, of tapping into your desires. Tapping into your desires and figuring out what you want. Material things maybe. But also maybe think about the lifestyle that you want to live, because your lifestyle has a lot to do with like what you're going to be creating, and a big part of your purpose. Also think like, how can I bring value to other people? How can I serve? What do I want to give? What would I give that I would do for free? What would I do with my life that I would do for free? Because purpose isn't always about your career. Many of you guys are already serving your purpose, even if like you're not on your ideal career path, or even if you don't feel like stereotypically successful. Like, you are living your purpose from the very day that you get here. And a lot of times our purpose really is just to be here and to be the witness, just to be here now. Like, you are enough, you are worthy, you're not defined by the things that you do. Your worth is not measured by your productivity. So sometimes I think we tie our purpose into our career or into our productivity. You don't have to cure cancer in order to do something good on this planet. Just make yourself happy in the big ways, in the small ways. Make yourself happy. And if you're sad or you're going through a hard time, it doesn't mean you're not like living your purpose. It doesn't mean that you're off the path. It just means you're going through something. It is what it is. It's part of this world. We go through stuff here. That's the one thing we all know. We all go through stuff in this crazy world sometimes. So your purpose isn't always 100% written down in the like word, like bam, this is exactly what it is. For me, I know that I'm here to help heal and communicate. I've discovered that through meditation. I've discovered that by the cards and tarot and all the time I've spent writing and journaling and finding myself. But that doesn't define me. That's a huge part of my purpose, but it doesn't define me. There's other ways I find purpose in life, and there's little things that help me find purpose. And it's not something I can quite put my finger on and really say, this is the scope of the purpose of my life. It's something that's ebbing and flowing and changing. It's something I get to decide. It's something that I get to create, but it's also something that's just inherently a part of me. So trust yourself. Trust your soul that you're already on this journey. Trust yourself that somewhere inside you already know your purpose and like you're intuitively on that path, even whether you consciously realize it or not. There's like a seed inside your soul that's been planted already. Your soul is infinite and you're always just redefining your purpose every day of your life. So be okay with the not knowing. If you don't know your purpose, it's not really like I said, something that you can define. It's more just a vibe. And so the best way, I think, to walk in alignment with your purpose is to ask yourself, what are your desires and what are my talents and gifts? And if you don't know what your desires are, then you need to get out in the world. You need to try different things so you can realize what you like and what you don't. If you don't know what your talents and gifts are, then you need to give yourself an opportunity to explore so that you can try certain things and see what you're gifted at and see what doesn't come naturally. I think some people in their childhood and in their adolescent years were fortunate enough to be able to have the space that was either created for them or that they created themselves in order to like figure this out. And then some people are just like adults and didn't have that time. So you're an adult, you have to create that for yourself. You need to create, use your nights and weekends or your time off to explore, to try new things, to travel to different places, to meet new people, to open yourself up to new ideas so you can start figuring out more of what makes you tick. And it's a lifelong journey. It's a lifelong process. You don't have to feel like the world's gonna fall apart if you don't know what your purpose is yet, or if you haven't found like a strong sense of purpose in life, because it's there whether you realize it or not. And certain things are only meant to unfold in certain times. Like if you would have told me like 5-6 years ago that I would be doing tarot readings and life coaching, I would have been like, what? Because I hadn't found the tarot yet. I didn't discover the tarot until years later. It just wasn't meant to be that I discovered that when I was like 20 or 21. And around that time, I really wanted to know more of my purpose. It just wasn't meant to be yet. And I look back on that time, I don't feel like I wasted my time or I wasted my life or I was totally off my purpose. I realize now how everything I was going through and like the choices I made and the things I participated in all like shaped a big part of who I am now. So just live your life. If you don't know your purpose yet, you can work on desires, you can work on talents and gifts, and you can figure out different little things to do that help you feel like a little bit more in alignment and take good care of yourself. But you can decide your purpose. You can create it yourself, and you don't have to have it all figured out in one day. It's a process. It's a slow unfolding, like a layers being peeled from an onion. So this is something though that giving yourself a purpose in life will help you to wake up every day feeling a little bit more better about being here, The last thing I want to say is I do offer a talents and gifts life purpose reading, but this isn't a reading where I'm just like, this is your purpose and here's your talents and gifts and like here's all the answers. It's like a discovery type of reading where I'm asking questions and like you get a chance to like journal and write things down, and we do see where you're at in your cards, and it's a reading that allows you to and kind of opens you to discovering your purpose. No one should ever tell you this 100% is your purpose. I think it's cool. I've talked to readers and people who have pulled up like, yes, you have spiritual gifts, or yes, you're very creative, or you're good with fashion, or they've seen things like that in the cards without even knowing me. That's a fun part of getting a talents and gifts reading, is some of the little things that come out that are like, oh wow, that's so me. It can actually be very accurate, but no one can tell you what your purpose is. Only that's something that you're supposed to discover in yourself. And so if you're interested in that reading, check it out. But sometimes it's important for you to find this path on your own. And the reading I do is more about like helping you to find that on your own. It's a talk like this, but it's more specific to you. So yeah, find your purpose. Let this be something that guides you forward. Don't let not knowing what it is give you anxiety. Like indulge in this beautiful mystery in life. It's an exciting part of being here, is that you get to decide what you're going to make of this life, and you get to decide like what purpose you're going to give yourself. So purpose is something that you bring to yourself. It's something that's also within you. So I hope that this reading resonates with you. Thank you so much for coming to my channel, and I will see you next time. Peace out.